I'm going to begin, Ryan, by saying, obviously, Black Panther is an incredible movie, and it's a real celebration of black culture and identity, and particularly Africa. And I was just wondering, well, obviously, and also in the most sort of mainstream of surroundings, it must be an honour to be at the helm of a project like this.
Absolutely, yeah. I know. I felt extremely honored, and I think, I love movies, I love making them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope I'm blessed to continue to do it. But what's great is, like, what I feel like each project I do, even when I was in film school, like, if I'm doing the right project, I feel like the movie gives me something. Like, obviously I'm giving myself to the project. You know what I mean? But the right ones, I walk away, like with a gift from the project personally. And this project I feel like has given me, like, just the greatest gift. Like, as a person who's my ancestry goes back to Africa. You know what I mean? And so I was able to explore my own ancestry and celebrate my own ancestry. In a film that I hope can encourage other people, not just people that are of African descent, though we all are technically. You know what I mean? but not just people who are of African descent, to explore their own. And I think that it's been an incredible honor and a blessing. I still haven't been able to wrap my head around the fact that I've been able to do this.
Because it is kind of, it's something very playful and very adventurous about this. Obviously, it's sort of in line with the kind of MCU, but at the same time, there is this kind of social, political kind of undercurrent to it. Do you think sometimes in cinema we almost have to step out of reality to kind of best understand it? Because I find that sci-fis and adventure movies sometimes are the most accessible ways of getting kind of quite big social kind of points across.
I think it's a way, what you're talking about, not with our film specifically, what you're talking about is allegory, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's the idea of, like, almost like sneaking medicine into the food. If medicine is, like, talking about, because it's hard to get the audience to sit down for a movie that's about subject that they're trying to escape. Like, it's literally escapism a lot of times when you spend your money to go to a movie. It's like, I'm trying to get away from all the crazy things that's happening in the world, all the stuff that's, but yeah, the cinema and science fiction in these kind of tall tales can be a way of dealing with those things, but in a way that's in the context of entertainment. You know what I mean? In the context of seeing a dude jump over on and rip off a plane wing or something. You know what I mean? So I think you hit the nail on the head. But that said, all of those, all of that good sci-fi, all of that stuff, all those myths, they come from reality. They come from the real, the real stuff is what inspires them.
And one of the things I love most about this was this kind of the blurring of the line between good and evil. There's almost no such thing in some regards, in the sense that, often when you have superhero movies, you have this kind of, the villain is the epitome of kind of evil. Whereas in this, I think Killmonger,
yeah.
It's almost, it felt in some ways like, the Black Panther was almost like the Martin Luther King to Killmonger's Malcolm X, that the way they both approached the whole situation. I was wondering about the kind of blurring of line between the two and having sympathetic villains.
Yeah, I think, one thing I'm conscious of is when people make the comparison of Martin and Malcolm, is that, oftentimes, like, those two activists, who are very important to African American history, they get pitted against each other in ways that aren't really true to what they were saying and what they were about. I think that those two actually were extremely close, closely aligned, you know what I mean, in terms of, what their goals were and even how they were going about achieving them. You had Martin, who was like a more of a turn the other cheek guy, which is really where they differed. But Malcolm was never as crazy or as or as violent or as vindictive as Killmonger is in this film. This is Malcolm. Like, he never was like about going out and launching an attack. The truth is, I think T'Challa is actually probably closer to Malcolm X in that he's a separatist. You know what I mean? When you meet him at the film, like he's a person who and who he is really hard for us to comprehend, because he's an African who's completely unaffected by colonization. That literally does not exist in this world. You know what I mean? Like the concept of a person who's not defined by by any of those things. And Killmonger totally is. You know, he grew up in a place that was as separated from Africa as you can get. You know, culturally, geographically. You know what I mean? And that's really where their difference is from the start. They just starting from two different places. You know. That said, we did want to have him be met with a threat that was believable. You know what I mean? Like, what's scary about Killmonger is not that he can fight T'Challa and stab him, which he can. You know, what's really frightening is that he's really could potentially lead his country. He could steal his country from him. You know, and he had to be persuasive. He'll have to have an argument that's convincing. You know what I mean? And be charismatic and be right sometimes. You know what I mean? And make the audience think. You know, for us, it's scary if a dude who comes in there, you know, saying things that are as violent and it's, but you kind of like, well, he kind of got a point. Like that's the scary part. You know what I mean? That's the part where it's like, oh man, like if this dude is running the country, he could convince Wakanda to do some of these awful things. You know, and I think that the what you're talking about is you know, we wanted the film to exist in the gray area, you know, because that's what makes politics difficult. You know what I'm saying? If politics was black and white, because T'Challa is a political leader. If it was black and white, man, the movie's easy. Oh, this dude's bad. This dude's good. You know, like you know, A or B. Oh, it's B all day because B is the right thing to do. If we could make it gray, if we could make it tricky, you know, if we could make it, oh man, like which way do I go? Then we have a character who's literally, you know, for the first few acts of the film is like, oh, you know, and then I think we might have something.
Well, thanks so much for your time today. Much appreciated.
All right.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey,